So to start off, good morning, and thank you all so much for joining us for our campaign presentation today. I want to especially thank Angela and Kelly for all the time that you've given us this whole semester and helping us out with this entire campaign. And then also thank you to Professor Coupland, Rachel, and Michael for constantly meeting with us and guiding us through this entire process. We're really appreciative of all of you and couldn't have done it without you guys. So to get started here, I'm Morgan. I'm a member of Lifestyle Solutions along with Alana, Rashida, Jane, and Caitlin. And we've been working alongside Maggie, Kyle, Julia, and Catherine, who are on the agency Fusion. So through both of our teams' diverse backgrounds, internships, work experience, and different leadership roles on campus, we have a combined expertise in areas such as data analytics, brand management, and advertising to bring you all the campaign that we have today. So today we're going to start by talking through the objective that we have, going into a little bit about our target market, and then giving you some more details about the Lean Cuisine brand and some of its competitors. Moving on to our overall insights and finishing off with our creative strategy. So these are some of the methods we used. We relied heavily on our focus groups, interviews, social listening, and a bunch of different secondary data sources as well. So to start it off, the objective that we wanted to cover in this presentation was whether Lean Cuisine should continue to build on their roots and history, or if they should try to go a different route and modernize for long-term growth. So in combating this problem, we first want to introduce you to Karen. So Karen is a 59-year-old mother of 4 who recently just became an empty nester and is trying to adjust to that new lifestyle. So while she used to have to cook for her whole family and her children, now she's making that transition into really only cooking smaller meals for herself and sometimes for her husband as well. She used to bring Lean Cuisine with her to work before she had kids, but that kind of took a back seat. Now that her kids are moved out of the house, it's starting to become more part of her daily routine. Karen has spent her whole life building her career to what it is today, and so she has a lot of work responsibilities and a lot of people relying on her throughout the day. Because of that, she relies on Lean Cuisine during busy days to give her a middle ground, something that can fulfill her cravings and make her feel full throughout the rest of the day without weighing her down, making her tired or sluggish so she can still fulfill all of her responsibilities. So in finding our target market, we wanted to choose consumers with similar desires as Karen for a meal that can quickly and easily provide that middle ground. So that's how we met Jessica, a 25-year-old financial advisor who is also making a transition into a new city and a new job and living on her own for the first time in her life. Jessica wakes up at 6 a.m. every morning to work out or do yoga before work so that she can start her day off right and feel good. On her way to work, she rides the subway to save a little bit of money and also to be a little bit friendlier to the environment. During her commute, she has some extra time, so she likes to use this to prepare out her day or her week. So she'll usually pull out her planner, go over her checklist, and just make sure she knows everything that she needs to do. If she has some extra time, maybe she'll listen to a podcast that focuses on healthy lifestyles or mindfulness to really ground her and prepare her for the day she has ahead of her. As soon as Jessica gets to work and gets settled, her boss comes over and asks her to finish writing this huge report by the end of the day. Even though she has a bunch of meetings and a presentation that she really needs to prepare for, of course she agrees to do it because she is new to the position and wants to make a strong first impression. So after rearranging her entire schedule, she barely has any time for lunch, and by the time she gets home, she's absolutely exhausted, pretty overwhelmed from the crazy day that she had. In those kinds of busy and stressful days, Jessica needs options that are easy and fulfilling, that can energize her and fuel her throughout her busy schedule. She needs food to fit her lifestyle and not the other way around. Millennials like Jessica are going through a lot of changes and transitions in their lives, with moving to new areas, learning how to go throughout their new roles and their new jobs, or even just living for the first time on their own. With all of those changes, it can be a struggle to find the time to cook or meal prep for the week, and often that takes a backseat to their other responsibilities. Along with time, money is also very valuable for them, as they might have financial goals that they're trying to work towards, and this is also could be the first time that they're paying a lot of their own expenses all by themselves. So after working so hard, millennials like Jessica want to treat themselves by satisfying that craving that they've been having all day. There's nothing worse than coming home after a hard day when you really just want a fettuccine alfredo and all you have in your fridge is leftovers from the other night. Millennials want that variety and options, especially for different internationally inspired food, such as Chinese food or Italian food, to really satisfy those cravings after such a hard and busy day. And that's what makes them very similar to Karen. So like we said, Karen is going through this new transition and she's struggling to find the motivation to cook when her family's no longer there, especially when she's becoming busier with work as well. It's really nice for Karen to not have that added stress of having to cook an entire meal when she knows that she can just come home and pull Lean Cuisine out of the freezer and have exactly what she wants in a short period of time. Again, Jessica is also really busy and is going through a similar transition to her new job and her new changes into adulthood. And she's also finding it hard to schedule in that extra time to cook or meal prep her lunches during the week. Both of these people are facing challenges and changes and are looking for ways to make their lives easier while not compromising when it comes to variety, flavor, or their own health. So since Lean Cuisine is adequately already serving Karen's needs, we're confident it can help fulfill the needs of young professionals like Jessica as well.
So after conducting our 2 interviews as well as our focus group, we were able to get a really great insight on the specific demographic and kind of how Lean Cuisine was perceived in the marketplace. So with all of our secondary research in addition to our primary research, we came up with a SWOT analysis. So when Jessica, who's in that millennial target demographic that Morgan took us through, she's trying to get a quick meal. So she might be standing in the frozen food aisle or thinking about what might be quick and easy. And she immediately recognizes the name Lean Cuisine because it has really high brand recognition as a legacy brand that has been around for a long time. So that's a strength for Jessica because she doesn't want to have to take a ton of time to be wondering, okay, is this brand credible? Is this what I actually want to eat? She kind of already has an idea of what she's getting when she does buy it, which does hold value for her as a really busy millennial. Not only that, she does know that Lean Cuisine has a very wide variety, which she can also see as she's standing in that frozen aisle, as Lean Cuisine does take up pretty much an entire door. And there are tons of options that can fulfill all of the cravings that she might have throughout her really busy day. Some weaknesses, she might be standing in that aisle thinking, okay, I know that Lean Cuisine is kind of perceived more as a diet brand. That's how it was marketed in the past. So those perceptions are still around. And she wants to make sure that she's getting enough. But what we found was an opportunity through that kind of small size and lower calorie, which we'll discuss moving forward. So an opportunity here. So Jessica, like most millennials, is very active on social media, especially platforms like Instagram and Facebook. And we feel that Lean Cuisine has a lot of opportunities in this space to optimize social media usage. And another great thing with the current demographic, which would be Karen's age, which Morgan also took you through, there's not a ton of room for growth. And those brand perceptions are really settled in the minds of that consumer since they kind of grew up with the brand. Whereas with millennials, they're aware of the brand and they do have their own perceptions. However, we feel there's a lot of room to grow and kind of modernize and change how it's perceived and positioned in the marketplace. And then some threats. So as Jessica's standing there trying to think of what's a quick and easy option, it's not just the oversaturated frozen food category, but also those different snack foods and fast food options, options where she could either pull from the vending machine at work, buy in bulk maybe from Costco, or just drive across the street at work to maybe have that fast food option. So moving forward, in addition to all of the interviews and focus groups and kind of compiling all of that data, we did a ton of social listening. So We started out with looking at all of the competitors that we felt were kind of positioned similarly to Lean Cuisine. So with Healthy Choice, when looking through their Instagram, since we know that millennials are constantly on social media, there's a lot of green. Mostly only their power bowls are showcased on their Instagram, so there's a lot of kind of the same options in that aspect. So you are getting those proteins, those grains, but it all is in that bowl form. They do have a lot of followers, but they're mostly focused on solely health and fitness. And then we looked at Stouffer's, which is a contrast to the Healthy Choice Instagram. There's a lot of yellows, there's a lot of reds. It's very comforting. It has that really homey feeling. There's a lot of pictures of comfort foods such as lasagna, mac and cheese, and pizza. So kind of those guilty pleasure foods that are very filling. You eat them, it kind of makes you feel warm inside. And then with Amy's, I was scrolling through their Instagram. It's very eco-friendly. There's a lot of sustainability aspects. A lot of focuses on organic, no preservative, non-GMO, environmentally friendly. So it really does have that healthy feel. It's a little higher end health feel. And they don't really showcase a ton of their different options that they have on their platform. With Smart Ones, their Instagram is pretty short. There's a lot of red, just kind of like we saw with the Stouffer's. It does showcase options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. However, the options that they showcase on their Instagram are pretty limited. And they do have a lot of kind of little positive messaging, reminding their followers to continue reaching their goals, whatever they may be. And then Marie Callender, the Instagram feed has a lot of that homey comfort food, kind of like we saw with Stouffer's, but more of a focus on their pot pies and their pies. Again, those really filling meals that they feel amazing in the moment, but you might feel a little weighed down after. Something that our team did was one of our activities during our interviews was we had our interviewees do their own perceptual maps because we wanted to see after all of our data and just talking to them when they were actually faced with the brands, what kind of recognition that they had and just kind of to see where they placed it and talk to them a little bit about it afterwards to kind of see the thinking behind it. So what we did was we simplified all of these perceptual maps and kind of aggregated it into one. And we actually made it into one quadrant, just for simplicity's sake, because they were all very complex. So what we found after talking to people and looking at their perceptions was fast food brands, they might fulfill that craving. However, so they are extremely fulfilling in that aspect, in the aspect that it fulfills the craving you might have for the Chinese food, in the case of Panda Express, or maybe that Italian food or Mediterranean food. However, it's not exactly practical to be eating out all the time. So then we move on to brands like Stouffer's, which are fulfilling as well, as we saw from their Instagrams, a lot of those really filling comfort foods like lasagna, mac and cheese, meatloaf, things like that. However, a lot of people actually had the perception that Stouffer's wasn't as convenient as other fast food brands because of just the larger portion sizes, and they kind of associate it with being a home meal rather than a take with you. And we found the same thing with Marie Callender. And then moving up to Amy's, people saw it as more practical, but for some reason they also didn't really see that convenience aspect. And they also felt that the variety was lacking a little bit. And with Healthy Choice, they felt it was very practical. It's in bowl form. You can take it with you. However, they didn't see it as fulfilling. And with Smart Ones, it was also practical, but maybe not as fulfilling. So then after looking at this, we saw that Lean Cuisine occupied this white space that was kind of very empty. So we found that consumers perceive Lean Cuisine as being extremely practical. They had the conception that it was extremely fast to heat up, it was very portable and convenient. They did say, okay, the portion size is small, but when we showed them all of the varieties and we kind of talked to them about all the different product categories that they had, and we talked to them about their different cravings that they might have throughout the day, they were talking about that it could fulfill those needs. It could fulfill that craving that you might have for that pizza or that pasta. And some words that were thrown around were guilt-free eating. So that was something that we really honed in on because all the consumers that we talked to and through all of our research, we found that people want to satisfy their cravings, but they don't want to overdo it and they don't want to feel weighed down. So in conclusion, like some of Lean Cuisine's unique selling points, so they're low-calorie meals and they won't weigh you down. So we're turning that perceived weakness of that smaller size into a strength. And there are over 100 entrees for plenty of variety. So through social listening, we did find this. So one of my biggest struggles with food is portion control. My eyes have always been bigger than my stomach. So that's just one of the reasons I love these lean cuisine meals. They're pre-proportioned and they add in the facts that they're delish, affordable, and quick to make. A lot of consumers are noticing the very things that we discovered through talking to a lot of different consumers. So now bringing it back to Jessica. So as Morgan described, she's having an extremely hectic day at the office, and she's fallen victim to that midday Chinese food craving that some of us have, especially at Penn State, where you can just go to the hub and there's a Panda Express right there. So same thing with Jessica, there's a Panda Express right across the street that she can drive to from her office and pick up lunch, but she knows this is going to be a really heavy meal, as well as the fact that it might not fit into her budget that week because she hasn't really planned in eating out. So she could go downstairs to the cafeteria at work, possibly grab some egg rolls, but she's like, that might not be enough food for me. So then she decides the best option that fits within her budget and would satisfy that Chinese food craving would be to pop that Chinese option for lean cuisine into the microwave, because then she can fulfill that craving for Chinese food while having it not weigh her down, so it can kind of boost her forward so she can continue being productive for the rest of the day. So more social listening. So I've been on a pasta craze for the past week. Thank you, Lean Cuisine, for allowing me to feed these cravings in a healthy way. So when Jessica's working really hard and wants to treat herself to that pizza or that pasta or that Chinese food option, she can do that, and she doesn't have to feel any guilt about it afterwards. It's not too little and it's not too much. It's that right amount, and it can continue to power her through her day and boost her forward. So the one thing that we really thought about was there's a lot of equity in the Lean Cuisine name. So people like Jessica, they don't want to be weighed down during a hectic day with a large meal. And the lean part of Lean Cuisine, so it's low calorie, you don't feel weighed down, and that makes it practical, because it's not practical to eat a humongous meal in the middle of the day so then you fall into a food coma and can't be productive for the rest of your work day. And then with the cuisine aspect, so it feels like a real meal. There's a lot of variety with the product categories. And so in that sense, it can fulfill whatever craving that you might have for different types of cuisines.
So what is lean cuisine? Lean cuisine is a practical way to fulfill your cravings. We understand that young professionals have a hectic and stressful lifestyle and need a quick meal that fits their needs and leaves them feeling good. Given all the data we collected from our research, as well as comparing lean cuisine to other brands, we realized that what makes lean cuisine unique is that it positions itself as a happy medium. The meals are satisfying but not overwhelming. The portions are big enough to be a meal, but not so big that you feel stuffed. Lean cuisine is practical in the sense that it understands its customers, like Karen and Jessica, have busy lives and are always on the move. But it's also fulfilling in the sense that it gives both women the boost and energy they need to carry on with their day. Lean cuisine is practical and fulfilling. Through this insight, we then defined the brand essence of lean cuisine. We believe that lean cuisine is practical because lean cuisine is just the right portion of food. It's inviting because of the wide variety of cuisine that gives it a friendly and homey feel. And it's also supportive because it gives you a boost to get you through the day. Lean cuisine is also fulfilling because there are so many different options to satisfy your cravings. We pulled together our human insight, the brand essence, as well as our data to create this creative campaign. The first initiative of our creative campaign is to change the logo. We changed the lean in the logo to the color green because we want to move away from the negative connotation of dieting and move towards the idea that lean cuisine is a happy medium that is practically fulfilling. The new logo reflects this shift in positioning while still maintaining the brand equity and the identity of lean cuisine.
We decided that a commercial would be a great launch moment for Lean Cuisine to announce its modernized brand essence and show consumers its ability to be both practical and fulfilling. The first second, even millisecond of a commercial is a life or death moment. The challenge is, can you grab the viewer's attention and can you retain that attention? So we decided to create a story that young professionals can easily visualize and relate to, but one that uses a completely different perspective. A bird's eye view of three different yet typical people around the office achieves just this. On the right-hand side, the person is definitely overfull by a fast food meal and crashes out at their desk surrounded by greasy napkins. All the way on the left, this person might eat a light meal that causes them to have bursts of energy, but that's not overall sustainable. And then you have Jessica in the middle with the lean cuisine, a meal that is a practical choice and allows her to keep working throughout her day. We wanted the print ads to reflect how lean cuisine can provide value to to its consumers and be used in their daily lives. So we used a different play on words for each of the 3 ads to show how lean cuisine is the best of both worlds. It is the happy medium between a meal that is not too light or too heavy. So it's not that massive pizza or the really light salad, it's right in the middle, and it's able to give consumers the boost that they need to achieve their daily goals. We also want consumers to be able to easily recognize these ads as lean cuisine ads. So we use triangles as a consistent element to keep throughout, and then also to create that feeling of balance. In addition, we use different food combinations, like you could see pizza, Chinese food and pasta here, to reflect the over 100 different types of lean cuisine recipes.
Through our focus groups, we were able to learn the shopping behaviors of the millennial consumer. When someone like Jessica goes shopping, they do not plan to buy frozen food, such as lean cuisine, but rather add it to their list when walking past the frozen section. We even discovered that shopping in the frozen section is actually comparable to window shopping. We really want to focus on grabbing the attention of a consumer like Jessica, which is why we came up with our in-store activation. Our in-store activation will address our findings from the focus group by implementing a pop-out display as well as footprints on the floor leading to the lean cuisine section to catch the consumer's eye. If shopping for frozen food is like window shopping, then we really want to have the consumers in front of our window. We also wanted to reinforce our message that lean cuisine is practical and fulfilling and can be a happy medium to satisfy your cravings while remaining healthy. So we included that on the in-store pop-out as well. The next element of our campaign is the implementation of a partnership with Nestle's Häagen-Dazs Heaven ice cream. This is a light ice cream with fewer calories and even less guilt. We chose the ice cream, or the Heaven ice cream, because it aligns with our idea that lean cuisine is practically fulfilling and doesn't leave you feeling weighed down. The partnership will also further the idea that lean cuisine is not overfilling because you will have room for ice cream after. We wanted to have a strategy in our campaign that will help reposition lean cuisine away from a dieting brand and move towards a happy medium that is both practical and fulfilling. We will implement this partnership through a coupon that gives you an incentive to buy more lean cuisines with the incentive of getting a discount on ice cream. The incentive will help promote growth in the future by encouraging bulk purchases of lean cuisine. We also created another coupon that incentivizes consumers to buy more lean cuisines as well as try a variety of different options available in the lean cuisine product lines. With this coupon, consumers can buy 3 lean cuisine favorites and get a discount on a lean cuisine marketplace. This will encourage consumers to try new options that they wouldn't have previously considered.
So for our social media strategy, first of all, why Instagram? Well, we found that young professionals are largely active Instagram users, and that Instagram is the fastest growing platform for marketers, growing from 66% in 2018 to 73% in 2019. So we decided to make some changes to Lean Cuisine's Instagram grid to make it more visually appealing and distinctive from its competitors. The post would be more orange on the left-hand side and more green on the right to make it consistent with our modernized logo design with that green and orange transition. The specific content would be a mix of food posts, professional women using the product, and testimonials. The really crucial element here is the addition of testimonial posts. Throughout our daily lives, we're constantly looking to others for social cues and to help us make choices. We decided that including testimonial posts would not only make Lean Cuisine more reputable in the eyes of our target market, but also show how people have felt supported by Lean Cuisine in the past. We also found that these posts perform better than others that just showcase the product in terms of the amount of likes and comments that they receive. By creating a more visually appealing and distinctive Instagram grid and including these testimonial posts, Lean Cuisine consumers at any stage will begin to recognize a part of themselves and their tribe within the Lean Cuisine brand and know that they can rely on it. In order to reinforce the essence of Lean Cuisine as a supportive and inviting brand, we decided to create a BuzzFeed-inspired personality quiz. This would be featured on the package and also on social media. So here we have a screen grab of what it would look like on a phone. This scan is live right now, so you can scan it and try it out maybe at the end of the presentation. But basically, people will be asked questions like, how do you relax after a long day of work? Or what does your morning routine look like? And then at the end, they'll find out which Lean Cuisine recipe best reflects their personality. So for example, you are like a sesame chicken because you have a really creative and outgoing personality. It's kind of cheesy, but it's supposed to be because it gives people that short, fun escape from their busy workday lives. While Jessica is taking her lunch break and making a lean cuisine, she'll see the scan code and say, hey, why not take this quiz? Also, for Jessica and other consumers, the quiz will motivate them to try other lean cuisine recipes that they may have not heard of, while also adding this element of personalization. Overall, the quiz reinforces our brand essence that lean cuisine is able to practically fulfill consumer needs and is a supportive brand. By aligning personality traits to lean cuisine recipes and then inviting consumers to make those humanized associations. We think that a planner giveaway would be a great way for lean cuisine to spread brand awareness, build involvement, and create points of engagement. So the contest would be on Instagram, as you can see here, and people can enter by following Lean Cuisine, liking the post, and then commenting their go-to Lean Cuisine meal in the comment section. Then the first 50 people to do all of those things will be chosen as winners. The choice of the planner helps the brand transition from its perception of lean as a restrictive diet brand to a more holistic lifestyle brand. The visual of the planner on the outside is very simplistic with just the logo, and then on the inside, the page at the beginning of every week will feature a section that asks for things to do, healthy living goals, and notes and reminders. Our research shows that millennials have experienced a lack of stability in their lives, so they often turn to planners and organizers to regain a sense of control. The planner itself is a practical resource that aims to help young professionals prioritize their work obligations and be mindful of their healthy living goals, like Jessica, who uses her planner to reduce stress and really keep herself organized throughout the day. For the long term, these planners will be a continuous method for brand advertising because people will see the logo around, maybe in public, as people are using it. Also, Lean Cuisine can reach out to the winners by DMing them on Instagram and invite them to share a post about how the planner has helped them in their lives, maybe a month after the giveaway is done. Overall, the planner will add to the strength of Lean Cuisine's already current brand recognition because it shows that the brand can help consumers in ways that goes beyond the product itself, which makes it become a part of the consumer's life experience.
The majority of things we've shown you in this presentation have been ready to implement now, but we also understand that for a successful campaign, we need to address the future and modifications that will be made in the long term. People like Jessica and even Karen, who are incredibly busy, might not have time to shop at the grocery store after work or after a long day, and we want to make that process easier. Especially with COVID-19, people are going to be buying a lot more online and stocking up on items, which is a trend that we see could very well continue into the future, even when things are restored to their old sense of normal. We want to make a presence online and ensure that we're the first in the consumer's mind. Even though freezer items might not be on the top of the consumer's mind when they go into the store, we want to change this perception and make it so that Lean Cuisine is always on the consumer's mind and something they know that will support them throughout. To do this, we're going to focus on online couponing, so showing those activations earlier, incorporating them through websites. We're also going to be working on advertising on websites like Instacart, like a Wegmans or a Target, so that people can see our banners and will be encouraged to buy our products. And we're going to purchase important keywords to ensure that Lean Cuisine is always at top of mind. The goal is to make sure that consumers like Jessica don't even have to think about it and can see from all of our online presence that we are practical and fulfilling. Just to wrap up, we want to talk about some of our key takeaways. Obviously, we are changing and modernizing the brand to fit with new demographics, but that doesn't mean we're alienating Karen. We found that both Jessica and Karen have so many overlapping qualities in the sense that they both have extremely busy lives and they have a lot that they're trying to get done. The core thing that ties these two women together is that they both need meals that give them that boost of energy, but are also tasty and don't leave them feeling weighed down or sluggish for the rest of their busy day. We want to provide an option that is that happy medium, that is practical and fulfilling, and leaves every consumer feeling like they're ready to take on the day and be the best that they can be. We're really excited to show you how this practically fulfilling concept carries over to our new market, and we'd love to answer any questions or comments you have about the presentation.
Ooh, great job, guys.
Good job, you guys. Well done. I can start off quickly just to highlight some of the things that I loved that you guys did. Your strategy, I felt like, was, airtight. I get the positioning of the happy medium and for practically fulfilling your cravings. Like, it just makes sense. I loved the going into the specific tactics in the creative. I loved the Haagen-Dazs partnership. I thought that that was super smart. Anytime you can borrow equity from another brand and reach a new audience makes total sense. So kudos there. Also thought it was really smart that you guys addressed what's happening in the world right now and how it's going to impact consumers and the business long term. So it's great that you're starting to think about that. And I think that always goes a long way with the clients. And also I thought it's smart not to alienate Karen. Obviously this brand has a lot of heritage and history, and that is a huge demographic that is part of this business, I'm sure. So still keeping her as an important part of that, but also encouraging a new demographic to come in, I thought was the right way to go. The biggest question I had for you guys is, I think in today's world, we all can agree that third-party credibility is huge. So outside of the traditional, print and TV advertising, that is a guarantee in terms of reaching people. We also have to be thinking about public relations and influencer relations to ensure that that credibility is there and that it feels authentic. So can you guys quickly walk me through your thought process of any sort of activations or programs you thought about within the public relations and influencer relations space?
So I can start with this one and then pass off to creative, but I know we talked about finding influencers or people who have a following on Instagram that are definitely good at what they do, but we didn't want to find someone that was almost too perfect. So we looked into a couple of different women who were fitness oriented, but no one who was unattainable. I know, Kat, you had a couple specific names that we had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I did. So we did look into fitness influencers and then other type of, very established professional women in their careers. But ultimately, at least from my research on partnerships, it's really essential for a brand to kind of have an influencer as, a partner. They're not just an influencer for the brand, they're really a part of it. And, they're daily users of the product. So that kind of goes, you kind of have to build a relationship in order to create that partnership. So that's why we decided to use testimonial posts in order to gain that authenticity. Just to show how Lean Cuisine has been used by other people and use that on Instagram in kind of a visually appealing way to kind of create the same message but in a little bit of a different way.
That's helpful. Yeah, and I think that that's one thing personally I've learned since being in the industry for the past couple of years. I think we all gravitate towards the traditional type of advertising, but more and more consumers are getting smart, and you have to think about other ways you can truly tell your story and make it be authentic. So I think always thinking about it, that channel, public relations and or influencer relations, may not always work, but I definitely think it's something that everyone should be considering as part of the larger marketing mix.
That's a great answer too, team, because I think you're right. I think what you said about like maybe not someone who's so polished, so perfect really goes with your like overall strategy. So I think that's a really good answer to the question. And that's what I want to compliment you on. And just like Kelly said, I thought like from an insight strategy perspective, like I got it. Like you guys nailed like sort of the frozen shopping journey. That's so true. Like no one really plans it. And like, they were like, no, but I probably should get something. So like that, you nailed that. I like really like that you like nailed the online buying piece and incorporated sort of what's going on in the world. Like that was really solid. Even like the universal insight up front around Karen versus I forget who your younger persona was, but like the universal insight of them going through change. And then even that leading into your like your focus groups and how like people were encountering the brand. Like they didn't need help with the whole like lean side of it, but they might have needed more help with like the cuisine side of it. Like, and that sort of led to your campaign. Like all of your creative led to, it all encouraged this variety seeking and, hey, let's try everything that we have, because that ladders to like the idea that you probably need more help with the cuisine side, like the food side. And so I really thought everything hung together from a strategy, insight, like Kelly said, on the Haagen-Dazs. I didn't know we had Haagen-Dazs heaven. Like I always sold ice cream, but regardless, I didn't even know we had that product. Like that's awesome. So I really liked how your insight ladder to your strategy, ladder to your activations, like everything sort of hung together really well. I think the only two sort of questions or feedback I had were twofold. One, I know initially when you said you're going through focus groups and social listening, some of that stuff, like again, people didn't need help with the lean. They sort of knew that. But then this practical thing came out in your campaign. It's like, well, if they know that about the brand, do they need help with it? And I wonder if practical comes across as boring. Like I see the word practical and I'm like, I don't want to eat this thing. Like this is boring. This is like not for me. It's drab, et cetera. So it's, again, maybe you have a different feeling there, but that was just sort of my initial reaction. Like, and again, this is where it's connecting insight and strategy to activation. I think it really, again, 90% of it was there. It was just this other side where it's like, well, if they didn't need help with it, do I want to bring up something that might come across as meh? But I understand why you did it. And then the only other question I have is, you did set up this initial insight around Karen, again, the younger persona, I forget what her name was, that the universal sort of thing they were going through was change. Like the one person was going into an empty house situation, the other person was going into a professional, and I thought change was going to come through more clearly. Again, I still think everything hung together really well. That's more of a curiosity thing, was that didn't necessarily seem to be the unifier between the two consumer groups. And I was just curious if you had talked about how that idea of like change or lifestyle change, life stage change came through more clearly. But again, 90% of it, I like totally get it. It really does track all the way through. So just those two, you don't maybe have to address the lean thing if you don't want, but like the change thing, I'm more curious about.
Yeah, I can touch. Oh, sorry.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, I can touch on your second question a little bit. So one of the things we really did want to do was to connect those like main touch points between Karen and Jessica. And so change was one of the biggest ways to do that. I think going off of like choosing change as such a big connection between them had to do with how like moving into a different stage of your life or transitioning into different behaviors or new environments comes with a lot of stress and like getting used to all the new changes and everything. So I think that's where we wanted to tie in lean cuisine as being like that helping hand during those times where like you're trying to get used to those new changes and all the stresses that come with it. So giving like a little extra guidance, it's like one less thing that you have to stress about throughout your day when you're trying to adjust, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely does. Absolutely does. Yeah.
One of the things that we did have in our Instagram was we did come up with a hashtag. This project has evolved so much since we started it, but one of the focuses of our social media, and I don't know if Kat, if you want to expand on this, but we do have a hashtag Lean on Lean Cuisine in our testimonials as well as some of our other posts, just because we really want to go back to that aspect that lean cuisine, it's kind of always there for you. It's always that option. And I feel like with a lot of perceptions, a lot of people we talked to in focus groups, they didn't have the best perception of frozen food. It's almost like recognizing that and saying to the consumer, hey, it's okay. We all have those days where we need a little extra help, or we don't maybe want to make a meal like everyone thinks that maybe we should be meal prepping in advance. Maybe we just didn't. So it's kind of like recognizing that and kind of being relatable as a brand.